Ah, yes. The land of the rising sun. A place of beauty, enchantment, and honor. Little would you suspect that Japan is also home to a plethora of cinematic wonders. Japanese cinema, while not as well known and easily attainable as cinema in America, has been just as influential and prolific in its innovations and presentation. Whether it be a moralistic and introspective journey into the human mind, a timeless and heart-pounding adventure in a past long gone, or a crazy wild ride into the depths of the imagination, and by crazy I do mean crazy, Japan has left a truly astonishing impact on the history of film and its future development. Because Japanese cinema has such a rich and storied history, I feel it best to introduce you to it through a look at its many genres. These include Jidaigeki, samurai films, Shomengeki, modern realistic films, Yakuza, which are mobster films, anime, and Tokusatsu, frequently known as the kaiju genre. I'll give you a brief look at these while pointing out influential directors and films along the way. So let's dive in. Jidaigeki films are typically based in Japan's Edo period, which spanned from 1603 to 1868. These films seek to recapture the mystique and authentic feel of the time period, depicting the lives of warriors, farmers, and merchants in dramatic and unique ways. This is especially true for films depicting samurai and ronin. The best films of this genre come from possibly the greatest director in Japan's history, Akira Kurosawa. Kurosawa was a master of his craft, developing and using dynamic camera techniques to enhance his already dramatic screenwriting. His films, including such classics as Rashomon, Seven Samurai, and Yojimbo, depict themes of human passion, violence, and heroic champions rising up to defend the weak. His films and techniques influenced thousands of filmmakers worldwide and continue to be prolific to this day. Overall, Jidaigeki films have been consistently compared to the Western, which symbolized and presented much of the same themes and ideas. In fact, Seven Samurai and Yojimbo were both copied into The Magnificent Seven and A Fistful of Dollars, respectively, conveying the same stories in different settings with different actors. These films are some of Japan's most famous and popular works of cinematic art. Shomengeki films are more reality-based. These movies often depict the everyday lives of ordinary people. This can range from humorous takes on Japanese society to bitter family dramas that comment on social and cultural issues. The master of this genre was Yasujiro Ozu, whose notoriety as a director is arguably only second to Kurosawa. Ozu used the camera to insert his viewers into the center of the scene, defying typical notions of shooting character drama. Ozu ran his movies at a slow pace and revealed pivotal events through dialogue instead of showing them in action. Ozu's Tokyo Story, a film depicting the relationship between an aging couple and their ignorant children, has been cited as one of the greatest films of all time, if not the greatest. Sometimes, the simplest of stories make for some of the most beautiful and artistic films. The Shomengeki films of Ozu and others prove this in more ways than one. Yakuza is the Japanese version of the Mafia, so this set of films deals primarily with mobsters, gangsters, and crime syndicates. Yakuza films typically fall into two separate subgenres. On the one hand, you have films that were heavily based on the Hollywood gangster film, filled with quote-unquote borderless action. On the other hand is what's called Ninkyo Eiga, or chivalry films. These featured outlaws who were torn between the ideas of giri, honor, and ninjo, personal feelings. These characters were often seen as honorable Robin Hood types. While the Yakuza film was very popular during the 60s and 70s, they've had a drastic decline in recent years, though there are a few left. One of the highlights is the recent Outrage trilogy, which has been screened on and off at a few film festivals. Oh boy, here we go. Anime deserves its own video, as it's a subject that is far too vast and in-depth to take a look at with the time that we have, so I'll just give a brief overview. As opposed to Western animation, anime has less to do with character and background movement, and more to do with quote-unquote camera movement. Pans, zooms, and diverse angles are the highlights of these productions. Anime is also known for its incredibly diverse art styles and forms, with many characters having widely different proportions compared to one another. These films are insanely popular, especially films from Hayao Miyazaki's Studio Ghibli. 2001's Spirited Away is often considered one of the greatest animated films in history, and was Japan's highest grossing movie until just last year, when another anime film took the spot. So yeah, anime's pretty important. Who knew? Tokusatsu films are generally defined by their excess use of special effects. This could include anything from science fiction, fantasy, to horror. Since this genre has been so often ill-defined, it tends to be grouped together with its most popular subgenre, the Kaiju Eiga, or giant monster film. Of these, Godzilla is the most prominent. First introduced in 1954's Gojira, Godzilla began as a horrifying allegory for the dangers of nuclear weapons. This message was all too real for the only country to have witnessed the power of the bomb firsthand. Godzilla's original raid on Tokyo was a haunting reminder of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki just 9 years earlier. Since then, Godzilla has gone from antagonistic destroyer to protagonist hero, and to just about anywhere in between. Godzilla is possibly Japan's most popular and viable national icon, and has become extremely popular abroad. With 36 films spanning 67 years as of 2021, the Godzilla franchise is the longest running in cinema history. Other famous figures in this genre include Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah, and Gamera, who has a well-respected franchise of his own. Whether serving as campy, rubber-suited pro wrestlers or terrifying allegories of the apocalypse, kaiju continue to roam Japan's screens and receive massive praise from children and adults alike. So there you have it, a brief look at Japan's extensive history with film. If you have any interest in checking out Japanese cinema, I highly recommend 2 films from 1954 to get you started. Kurosawa's Seven Samurai and Ishiro Honda's Gojira, Godzilla, are both great introductions to the Japanese style, and are considered 2 of Japan's most pivotal and influential films. Japan's cinema is unique, diverse, and often beautiful. It really puts into perspective how other countries can offer content that is just as appealing and prolific as anything in Hollywood. I highly recommend checking some of these films out, as it provides you with an experience you'll not soon forget.
あばよ